Talk about the Civil War, we have to talk about three wars in one. We have to talk about the battles between the Appalachians and the Atlantic Ocean. This is what's known as the Eastern Theater. This is the one, when you start thinking about the American Civil War, this is probably the theater you're thinking about. This is where Antietam is, where Gettysburg is, where Manassas is in our last slide. The area between the Mississippi River and the Appalachian Mountains, that area, that's called the Western Theater. This is where the war was won. This is where commanders in those areas learned how to defeat the Confederates. And then, of course, it's not much of a coincidence that when the major commanders of the Western Theater move over to the Eastern Theater, the war in the East suddenly comes to a close. Or much more quickly than it would with the original commanders. And then, of course, you have the stuff across the Mississippi, the Trans-Mississippi Theater, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Texas. I call it the red-headed stepchild of all of the three theaters. Sorry if you're a red-headed stepchild or just a redhead. I don't mean anything by it, but nonetheless, it's kicked around by historians. Nobody really studies it. So if you want to study the Civil War, you might be best served by studying more the Trans-Mississippi Theater, because our knowledge of it is certainly lacking compared to the Eastern Theater and the Western Theater. But nonetheless, the Western Theater is where we get one of the most important, if not the most important, Union commander of the entire war, Ulysses S. Grant and his good friend William Tecumseh Sherman. Both of these guys are fantastic in uniform. They function well. They're the best general that the Union has. But the funny thing is that they are both failures in civilian life. But put a uniform on, and darn it, they're really good. And their tandem, their teamwork is going to show dividends very quickly. In February of 1862. Grant is going to take both forts of Henry and Donelson. These forts are going to be located on major southern rivers, and one of the ways to control the Mississippi is you need to control the tributaries that go into the Mississippi. Well, these two forts are on two different southern rivers. So Grant comes in, uses the Navy in order to help him take those two forts. And as a result of the fall of these forts, Grant's going to get a nickname because of the fact that when the forts fall, their commanders are going to ask, what is going to be your terms for surrender? And Grant basically just says, I will accept no terms other than unconditional surrender. So in the newspapers, he's going to get the nickname Unconditional Surrender Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, so U.S. And he's going to start, the Ulysses S. Grant and Sherman are going to solidify their reputation as the war continues. Now, Grant's going to be taken a little bit by surprise in April of 1862 at the Battle of Shiloh. Here, the major commander of the Confederates within the West, his name was Albert Sidney Johnston. No relation to Joseph Johnston, by the way. He's basically going to be surprised by Johnston's army, kind of taken back on April 6th, 1862. Johnston tells his men, we're going to basically water our horses in the Tennessee River. And Grant seems to be taken by surprise. But by April 7th, Grant is going to be reinforced. He's going to get more men into his command, and he's able to push off the Confederates. This reinforcement, combined with the fact that Johnston is going to be mortally wounded, it definitely contributes to the victory. Johnston is going to be basically hit in the leg, and he's going to bleed, and it's going to hit an artery, and it's going to bleed. He's going to bleed into his boot, and there's really nothing that anybody can do. He bleeds into his boot, and he falls off his horse and is mortally wounded. So whenever you have that, when you have your top commander die, it really you're asking for trouble. All right, it's going to be it's going to be a hard blow to recover from. But nonetheless, the Battle of Shiloh is a Union victory, and it kind of has the same effect that that First Bull Run does for the South. The First Bull Run showed the North that this war was not going to be long, and the war is not going to be short, and it's not going to be bloodless. Shiloh does the same thing for the South. It's going to show the South this war is not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, it's going to be long, and it's definitely going to be bloody. Because Shiloh, the casualty count, although it's not the highest of the entire war, it's going to shock both sides in terms of its sheer carnage.